Hi everybody, I'm glad you're with me today. This is going to be a fun video because it's kind of steered by your requests. All the products that I'm talking about here are new, and they're things that you kind of recommended that I try or asked me to try in a message or a comment. Somehow recently you reached out and you said, hey Em, what about this? One of these things just personally I wanted to try, but the rest of this stuff was pretty much inspired by you guys. All of this stuff did come from Walmart, so that's exciting. And the first thing I have are these e.l.f. Holy Hydration Thirst Burst drops. It says dewy and brightening. On the top of the box, I didn't know it had anything to do with being pink, but it says juicy pink gel drops, 1% hydrating hibiscus complex, and 5% niacinamide. So I've already got all my skincare on, and they say there's 3 ways to use it. Use 1 to 2 pumps as a serum, as a makeup primer, or mix it with a foundation. So I guess this is going to be kind of a primer step for me. Wow, the bottle's kind of weighty. Cost-wise, this wasn't super cheap as far as e.l.f. goes. 12 bucks, you know, not outrageous, but definitely a deviation from old school e.l.f. And I do love this Holy Hydration range. I use the moisturizer every night, and there's just various parts of it that I really enjoy. So we're going to pump some out, see if it looks pink. I guess it looks maybe softly pink and really transparent, thin, serum-like. I'm just going to blend these in all over. They feel really nice. Like thin moisturizer, but now as I continue to work it in, it's almost like it's thickening up a little. Or maybe that's just the feeling of it kind of working in with the skincare I already had on. But I definitely look juicy and hydrated and dewy. And I have seen this used. I've seen more people talking about this and recommending it, so I'm glad I have a chance to try it too. Another thing is a newish product from NYX, and it's their Buttermelt Glaze Soft Glow Skin Tint. This has SPF 30 in it, so I'm not relying on this entirely for my SPF. I already had one on as the last step of my skincare, but this gives me a little extra. I chose the shade 02 Vanilla Bean Butter. Yes, it does spell butter, B-U-T-T-A. This also has niacinamide in it and mango and shea butter, so hopefully my skin isn't too juicy after these steps, but this is what the squeeze tube looks like. We're gonna squeeze some out. I think the shade should be pretty good. Dab this around. And I'm going to use my good old Profusion buffing brush with this. See what kind of coverage we get, what kind of just overall look on the skin. It'll be a little bit hard for me to comment on the texture of this product and this alone since I am wearing it on top of the Thirst Burst drops today. But no doubt this is giving even more dewiness. That coverage seems very, very light to me. Very sheer. I might have to look back for like a little before and after on my face in editing, because sometimes it's just hard to tell with these products. I don't feel like it did that much. I'm still seeing some redness around my nose. I'm looking dewy and glowy all over. It does call itself a soft glow skin tint, so it's not promising huge things. I'm going to see if I can build it just a bit. But I'm feeling like in my scope of tinted moisturizers, this would have to rank toward the lightest end. Definitely less coverage than Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator and lighter than like that L'Oreal one I used earlier this week. It's given a little. It might be slightly buildable, but I don't want to build it too much because, again, my skin just feels incredibly juicy with both this and the Thirst Burst drops together. That's just how it worked out for this video. I mentioned there was one thing that was just something I'd been curious about from the Relove by Revolution line. That's the brand in Walmart that is pricing everything at under $5. So this was $4 and change. I wanted to try the concealer. It's called Super Concealer Cover Sculpt Contour. It says Hydra Boost on the top, and I got the shade C3. This was part of a delivery order from Walmart, which I so often do. And just looking at all the shades online, it seemed like the first 5 or 6 were almost all identical and really light. So it was hard to tell. And this might be on the light end. Yeah, I think it might be on point for what I'm wanting. And we're gonna use this on my under eye area, and we'll see just how much coverage does she have. She's got some work to do, seeing how light the coverage of the NYX was. I'm going with my Duo brush from Monge here to tap this in. Texture seems like it's blending really easily, so kind of light. Yet I do feel like I'm getting coverage. Get around the nose. And then I can work over to my larger end And this is just a tapping motion. I'm really not doing blending. I'm just tapping over and ensuring that it does get fully worked into the skin, but I'm not removing any coverage, you know what I mean? I think that looks really good. It doesn't look too thick, but yet I do feel like it did a lot of work on the under eye. And pretty good for redness too around the nose. So these are products, really all three of the things that I've put on so far. The Thirst Burst, the NYX, the concealer. These are things that, you know, I'm giving you some immediate takes on these, but I would say all three are things that would benefit from more trial and error, you know, pairing with different products, trying the NYX without the Thirst Burst, trying the Thirst Burst under maybe a thicker matte foundation and seeing what kind of fresh look we can create with that. There are some other approaches I can take, but right off the bat, I am pretty impressed with that concealer because there wasn't a lot of foundation-y coverage helping it out. Okay, just a little update with a couple steps that were not new. I set my under eye with the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Loose Powder in Soft Pink, and I used the Maybelline Super Stay Hybrid Powder Foundation in 128, just all over my skin. And I do feel like that amped up the coverage quite a bit. I definitely feel like I got a good medium coverage going all over, but the interesting thing is I still feel kind of dewy, and I probably used more of this than I would on a typical day all over my skin. Normal amount on the under eye, that feels pretty smooth, but like I just feel tacky still, and I feel like it would be weird to put on even more of this powder, but that's what you're gonna get when you pair the Thirst Burst drops with the Buttermilk Glaze on top. Alrighty friends, so a few steps have happened that I didn't have new. I mentioned the dewiness factor. If you feel like the products you've put on have left your skin especially dewy, I mean, I'm not off the charts now that I have some powder on, but it's still, I can tell it's there. So I'm gonna edge toward doing powder products for blush, bronzer, highlight as opposed to creams, because if you're putting creams on, you're just really adding to the dew factor, you know? So I chose my NYX Buttermilk products. These are the only two shades I have from the bronzer and the blush line. I have Deserve Butter in the bronzer, and I've just got that, you know, in my usual places. It's really pigmented. Both of these products, I think, are very little goes a long way. Butter with Thyme is the blush. I got myself this for my birthday. I remember when I went to Ulta, very intense, but kind of a berry, pinky berry color. And then Revlon Skin Lights Highlighter in Daybreak Glimmer. That is my highlight. Then I went on to brows, used my Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil. I am the shade 4 in that, and also shade 4 in the Precisely My Brow Wax. It's just a little tint that gives the brows some hold. I got a little out of hand with it and had to do some correction over there. Wet n Wild Mega Last Eye Primer. And then it was brought to my attention that Profusion has some really small palettes, 5-pan palettes now. There's various color tones. I know there's a green, there's a bluish one, various tones. I went with the most basic because I feel like people are always wanting to do really soft looks these days. Plenty dark enough for a crease. Oh yeah. The 4 square shades don't appear to have shimmer, but they're super smooth and buttery. And then this shade here does have shimmer. They called it a mousse. Ooh, and it feels like a ColourPop shadow, and it's super shiny. But I thought, yeah, this looks fun. Let's do it. I'm gonna go straight to my crease with this shade. I think it's gonna show up a little darker than it appears as I'm holding the palette right here in front of you. But yeah, the palette is called Cozy, and it's just called 5-shade palette. And honestly, Profusion really never disappoints with their eyeshadow quality, so I figured this is going to be good. So that first shade is just being really light for us. I'm just using my Profusion crease brush for blending. Okay, and then I'm thinking let's go to the next shade over. As I hold the palette straight on, they almost look identical, but I think you can tell it's different. You know, this is a little more like yellowish. And just work that over the edge. And I like that there's an even lighter shade where you could think about doing an all matte look and totally execute that. You know, if you wanted to use this on the inner part of the lid as opposed to the glimmer, let's say. But I'm going to take some of that light shade, the lightest one, and just hit right up under my brow. Textures here are very nice, but as you can see, up to this point, everything's super light and natural. Next, I'm going to take one of my newer brushes from Morphe. It's the M303 Eye Packer brush. It's a flat brush, but it's a little thicker than my usual. If you want more details on new Morphe brushes, that was my last video, but I'm going to tap into that shade. Tap off the excess, which there is some excess to be tapped off, and you might not even realize it because it's not like it pools up in the pan like all this dustiness, but when I tap it off, some definitely flies away. And I'm tapping this on the outer part of my lid. Oh, this is gonna be really pretty. Like natural everyday, but just enough depth to make it feel really finished to me. Getting that on the outer lid, reaching the crease. Guys, I'm so behind on Days of Our Lives. I missed 3 days of Bold and the Beautiful, and I feel like everything picked up pretty much right where I left off. I missed nothing there. These are my shows that during the nap time period are just kind of on while I edit. But Days of Our Lives is on Peacock. I'm taking my small pointed brush and just using it with this shade now. So with that one, I just kind of pick up. I didn't actually miss anything. I can just go to the last episode I was watching. But they've kind of become like my comfort shows, I think. You know, I'm working while I have them on. Like, what is it about having certain background noise that just makes you feel like, oh, you know, well, there's crazy old EJ again. I don't know. It's comforting. Okay, I'm just blending. There's nothing on this crease brush anymore. And I'm getting just this soft, taupey, very neutral, you know, it's not too warm. This is just screaming like anyone's everyday eye look. And then just picture it being a little brighter and lighter if we took this shade on the inner lid. Right now there's nothing on my inner lid yet. I'm wondering about like a splash of this on the center of the lid. Like maybe I grab my smaller Morphe brush, this is the M302, and I take some of this, a little bit peachy, and we just dab that on the inner lid to start. And keep in mind this circle shade over here has a mousse-like texture, and it's gonna be able to stick. You know, you might think, well, how is that gonna go on over this fully matte powder look? But it's a different texture than the others. I don't know how this little palette got past me, but thank you to those who let me know. I'm gonna go in with my finger. It's super glitzy, but I'm gonna try see if I like it here on the center of the lid. Even if I don't like it, that's clearly where it's going to be today. Just kind of using my finger to edge it out on the sides, but wow, really has some glitz. It's definitely the color that takes it from everyday easy matte to something more glam. Like it looks straight up glittery, but the moussey texture really helps it adhere. Like there's no glitter flying everywhere. That was a smart choice to put that texture in. I might even go a smidge deeper for inner lid. Just gently overlap. Just so it looks like that shade is spotlighting. Inner lid, a little bit above. Okay. Well done, Profusion. I like this concept, and I like this particular palette called Cozy, just for someone who's wanting that everyday, that really soft crease, not too dark. And then I'm thinking, let's just pull in our Lace Shadow Stick in Brown Abyss. I feel like keeping it easy today. I've felt like keeping it easy all week, frankly. So this is just going on probably about the outer 2/3 of my lid, lightly along the lash line. It's so easy to get a defined look with that. And I want something on the lower too. If I'm sticking with Lace Shadow Sticks, the natural choice for lower lash line for me is the Magnetic Bronze color. I've compared this to Cold Brew, and I feel like it's a little more brownish, whereas Cold Brew, I don't know, it's got more of that warmth. Even though this name is Magnetic Bronze, it makes me think more mid-brown. See what I mean? There's Cold Brew, more copper in that. There's some curiosity swirling about this new mascara from Maybelline. It's the Colossal Bubble Mascara. They call it Buildable Inflated Volume, made to bubble up on every lash. There's the before and after down at the bottom. We will see. Tube is enjoyable. You know, Maybelline will always do something eye-catching. I'm loving the look of the brush. It's not spiraled around. It's like a bunch of short bristles. Looks a lot like Cali Ray, really, from that angle. It's got some bare spaces. It almost looks like it twists around. There's a row of either hardly any or incredibly short bristles. I really see the value in mascara wands that have some way to load the lashes as well as rake it through. Kind of learning that's a real sweet spot for me, and it helps my lashes build faster. My lashes don't love to stay curled really well, so the faster they can build and then it can just dry down on them, the better my curl will hold ultimately. If it takes forever and I'm just raking, trying to get something going, usually not a good sign. When you see it online, it says Maybelline Colossal Bubble Washable Mascara. I don't believe this is a tubing mascara. Let's go ahead and get it going. First try with the mascara, we can't be too judgy. but I'm just starting to kind of twist my brush and coat it up. Oh no, I got some on the lid. Kind of a big dot on my lid. Hopefully that will scrape away. Sometimes I'm too aggressive as I try to get in there. I think it's doing a fairly good job of not clumping my lashes together. That immediate first coat seems pretty good. I don't think I want to build up right away on that side. I want to give it a little time. And I'm giving that spot a little time too, because once it dries, it probably will flake away. I kind of feel like we got back from Florida and allergy feelings came rushing back. Or maybe just simply the change, you know, the air just feels different down there. I really like what it's doing after one coat. I'm kind of casually putting it on. I'm not even really paying attention to what part of the brush is hitting where, but not clumping the lashes together. Let's see if we can flake away the problem. Good deal. And it didn't take off too much of the glitter with it either. Okay, I just had to wipe my nose. And I'm gonna do a little repair here between mascara coats. Just a tiny bit of concealer, just the same kind I was using earlier in the video. Go over that nose just a little. Okay, back to this. We're definitely ready for more over here. If you're a fan of mascaras that don't come out of the tube with a super cleaned off wand, like you like a little thickness on there that you can work with, this seems to be good about that. Like it's building pretty quick. That's a pretty thick lash for me over there. The idea of it's getting on the lashes and making each lash bubble up or whatever, that's just a new way to put it, Maybelline, but I don't know. Thickening up over here. I'm feeling really good about this, and this is just the first go round with it. I did get a little more on my lid over here. I don't know what my problem is today. A little e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes because, again, this is a tubing mascara, so you can wear it knowing it's not gonna smudge and flake off. And we've got all those juicy products on our skin today. Okay, for lips, I have a couple of things. There's been some interest in this Glow Reviver Melting Lip Balm. I got the shade Yummy Gummy, and thank you, e.l.f., for putting the shade name just on the tube, not in some teensy little sticker. I like that. This was actually approaching the $10 mark at Walmart, and I thought, really, e.l.f., like, we're getting up there with things. It's a, sort of a flexible silicone tip, so you could squeeze it directly on your lips and spread it around if you want. I don't love doing that because I feel like they always get so, like, I don't know, goopy and messy, and then you twist on the cap, but for you guys today. The scent is so sweet, just a sweet berry scent, and pretty strong. And this actually has a sweetness that you can taste as well. It makes you want to lick your lips. It reminds me of those flavored lip glosses and lip balms that you get from Walmart back in the day. But it's a pretty look. It feels really hydrating, but kind of thin. I'm going to add a little more. I could tell looking at it online that it was going to be on the sheer side, so I went with a deeper shade like this. I think it's a super pretty color. It reminds me a lot of the look you're going to get from Maybelline Lifter Gloss in Taffy, the one that looks kind of dark berry in the tube, but it goes on looking sort of like this. This feels a little thinner than a lifter gloss. And again, it makes you want to lick your lips. It's sweet. So I was really curious about this formula, so I wanted to try it, but this is not my favorite format for a lip product. I would love it to be like a doe foot applicator, but it does feel moisturizing. I'll say it feels hydrating, maybe even thinner in texture than their little Squeeze Me lip balms, if you're familiar with those. I wore it yesterday for a little while, like right after I got it, and it's just not long lasting on your lips, but it does have a pretty look. You know, I like this color on me. The feel is just bordering on a little thin. If it were slightly thicker, it would last better. You know, glosses sometimes need a little tack to them, a little something extra to last a bit longer. Like if I had a choice between this and Maybelline Lifter Gloss and Taffy, I would go with the Lifter Gloss and Taffy. But yeah, it does look cute. Next up, we have the most recommended product for me to try. This was just like, Em, you need to try this. It didn't seem like you guys had questions about it, but more so that you've tried it and you think I would like it too. But it's from Maybelline Superstay line, and it's the Teddy Tint. The packaging is so cute. I did try to get one of these earlier on, but they didn't have the shade I was asking for. It was another, you know, Walmart order thing, and they just, instead of replacing it, they just didn't didn't give me one. This is the shade 55 Knee High. I don't know if you noticed, but at the start of this video, my lips still had a little bit of this on. I put it on midway through the day yesterday, and like there's still remnants of it on my lips. It's an interesting product. I love the packaging. We're gonna put it on here, and it feels like there's a matteness to it. Yes, it is tinting. We're used to seeing all these full color products from Maybelline, and here you get the feeling that there's almost a little sheerness, but yet not. I don't know how to put this. It's a softer product, okay? It's crossing my lips, and it's just feeling like this kind of lightweight, moussey type thing, but then it does dry down, but not to a point that's like dry and crusty. I was surprised with how long this hung on my lips, and I do like this shade so much. We're thinking soft berry. It's probably the equivalent to this shade in the e.l.f. Like, why did the word sheer come to mind? Because my lips look like they've got a full-on color, but as you put it on, I think it's just the texture of it. It makes you feel like a different vibe compared to all the liquid lipsticks that just go on looking like paint. It's the softness of this product. It's the moussey nature that allows them to put the word tint in the name, you know? And now I can tell we're getting this, I guess, partial dry down, I'd call it. You can just tell it's really on there, but it feels kind of soft. If you lick your lip, you feel like, yeah, there's definitely something on my lips. It doesn't feel weightless the way a Benetint would on there, you know? It's almost like if a stain also had a thicker texture, but it was still doing what a stain does. And now after sitting on my lips for a couple minutes, will the color blot off? Just a tiny bit of residue is blotting off. It's so interesting, and it really lasts a long time, and it feels comfortable. Great recommendation, you guys. I'm really glad I finally gave it a go. Let me know if there's any other shades that you would really recommend. I'd be interested to see what a lighter shade, like how it behaves and how it shears out or what it ends up looking like on the surface of your lips. But this is very cool, and I'd say it's for the people who want long wear but don't want their lips feeling suffocated by long wearing products. Now I will say Maybelline Super Stay Matte Ink crayons, I don't have one over here right now, those don't feel heavy on my lips, and they give me fully opaque color. This just gives you a little bit softer than 100% full color, and I like that. I like it a lot. Anything with that Super Stay name on it, you can pretty much take that to the bank. Super Stay products do very well. The one Super Stay thing that kind of deviates a little bit from that outcome for me would be their newer Lumi Matte Foundation. For whatever reason, that doesn't wear that amazingly well on me, but everything else Super Stay usually does a really, really good job in that regard. So thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you for requesting these various products, whether it was just something you were curious about or something you thought I would really like. My immediate favorites in the video, I mean, I don't think we had any glaring duds. I kind of wish there was a little more coverage in the buttermilk glaze, but right away, things that in this video on the first try I'm enjoying. Profusion Cozy palette I think is very good. The Teddy Tint, yes. The Colossal Bubble Mascara I think is doing really good things for me. And I like the concealer too. We'll see how it wears all day because that's a big factor for me, but so far so good. So thank you everyone for your time, and I'll see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.